Hi, good afternoon, and thanks for joining us on our continuing series for International Day of Women and Girls in Science. Today, I'm here with Meghan McQuade. She's a sophomore at the University of Washington. And so I will turn it over to her and let her introduce herself and also tell us a bit about your degree program over at UW.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So, like Diana said, I'm Megan. I'm a sophomore at UW. I'm just actually got into my major here. It's the molecular, cellular, and developmental biology major, which is just there's a couple different like specializations of the bio major that you can choose at UW. And so the one I chose, the MCD program, just mostly focuses on like the biological processes of cellular function, disease processes, and embryonic development. So lots of the little itty bitty, really tiny parts of biology, which is just something I'm super interested in. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what MCD is.
Great, that sounds exciting and fascinating. Yeah. How did you prepare for college while you were in high school?
Yeah, so I actually went to Delta, which is a STEM high school. So that kind of helped me going into a STEM program in college. I also took a lot of the college and the high school program or classes at Delta, which really helped with getting some prereqs out of the way, and being able to come into college as a sophomore and be able to like choose my classes more easily, and also just prepare me for some of the college work that I would be doing.
Oh, great. So I know that they are a bit more project focused
Yeah.
than the I guess the regular public schools.
Yeah, it was definitely a transition because like the classes that I'm taking here, at least the more intro level STEM classes are a lot more test like exam based. And so it's a lot more similar to the AP track. So it definitely did take it was an adjustment process and I really had to kind of relearn how to study a little bit. And so that was definitely probably the toughest part about the first 2 quarters of my time at UW was just relearning how to study, how to pace myself for the much faster paced classes here. But if you just like put the time in and are determined enough, it's not overly difficult to kind of get in the groove and find your footing in the classes.
Oh, great. Okay. At what point did you decide that you wanted to go into the field of science?
I've pretty much always known that I wanted to go into science and in particular biology. I have very vivid memories of like driving to elementary school with my mom, and she's a physical therapist, and so she'd be talking about like different things that are happening with her patients, and I was always like, wow, that's so cool. And so for the longest time, I kind of bounced between first wanting to be a veterinarian and then thinking about medicine and surgery, and then I finally landed on research as I got into some of the upper level biology classes here at UW.
Okay, great. Who've been your role models?
I'll probably say mostly my mom. She was the one like who kind of always talked about science with me as a young kid and kind of kept me engaged in the whole medical side of science and the biology because she's also like was really into biology when she was young as well, and so I talked to her a lot about it, and she was also the one who was very adamant on me keeping like an open mind and keeping my options open, because when I was in high school I was like very dead set on like I'm going to go to med school, I'm going to go to med school. And she was always reminding me like if there's something that interests you along the way, like follow those passions, follow what you're interested in. And I think that's something that's really important when you're talking about science because it's definitely a lot of work. So going into a subset of like the STEM field that is like something you're passionate about and something you're really interested in is a really good way to make sure that like you're you're like like passionate about your work, doing good science, and just having a good time, because if you're not, then it just makes the days very, very long.
Yeah. But yeah, that passion is what usually drives people for the direction that they'll take. And I know a lot of people kind of think with science, it's either one way or it's
Mhm.
it's just really broad and not quite sure what all is encompassed within the science field. And there are like a lot of avenues that people can go.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so you kind of find, yeah, your passion and then find out the track to get you there.
Mhm.
To how to,
Yeah, like,
if-
when I was talking, I'm part of a club on campus, and so I've been talking to a lot of the freshmen that joined this year, and, like, the biggest advice that I always give them is, like, as you're going through, like, your Gen Chem and your, like, intro bio series, like, they're gonna throw a lot of information and a lot of different topics at you, and if there's something that just, like, clicks with you that makes you go, "Oh, wow, that's so cool, I wanna learn more," like, note that and and look at like where you can go with that, like what other classes are offered here that is in the same vein, like what kind of research is in that area, just because like if you can find that spark and follow it, it just makes college, and I'm assuming life after college, and your career just a bit easier.
Mhm. Okay. And then speaking about careers, so what is your career goal?
Yeah, currently I am planning on going into genetics research. I personally am really, really interested in like the mechanisms involved in gene expression and things like cell-cell communication, and epigenetics, which is basically like like what genes are expressed in the body's ability to regulate which genes are expressed and turn genes on, turn genes off, etc.
Okay. Wow, that's just fascinating. Um, what role does the environment play in gene expression?
Yeah, so kind of going off of like epigenetics, which is like one topic I'm really, really interested in. Like your body and your cells are in like constant communication with the world around you. So changes in your external environment can impact which genes are turned on and which genes are turned off in different cells. Because like you have so much DNA and so many genes, that are, you have a copy of it in each cell, but not all of it can be expressed in each cell. And so your cells even have the capability to, like, at some points turn certain genes off, and at some points under different environments turn genes on to like be able to survive as best as possible. And so obviously with changing environments, especially changing environments due to climate change, you're starting to see different genes being expressed differently than you normally would see them. And so that's kind of the role, or one of the roles that like the environment can play in the field of genetics. It's still a really, really new field. Epigenetics in general is just a really, really new field. So that's actually something that I find like really exciting, is there's just so much we don't know about how like changes in like our gut microbiota and the external environment impacts our health based off of gene expression. And so I'm personally really excited to go into research in that field, just to add to the collective knowledge of genetics, and add to potential ways we can help minimize the negative side effects of like certain genes being turned on or off because of changing environments.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and it is fairly new field. Yeah, I looked up some stuff about it and it is very, very interesting. I
Hmm.
was trying to find what's the connection with just having availability to open spaces and getting
Yeah.
outside on the trails, and how that alone, um, something so simple that we can do, how that um, affects everybody. And maybe within the genes, I'm not sure if it would go like that far, but definitely with your overall health,
Mhm.
how it would affect everybody. So um, that just sounds like an absolutely fascinating field. So for any other younger scientists, future scientists out there, you definitely have this other big field as an option. So
Yeah, there's so much. There's so much new research happening all the time. That's definitely one thing that I've learned from kind of starting to shop around for different labs that I can join this year and next year. There's constantly new research, and there's research in basically any topic that you can think of. And that's one thing that's actually really exciting about being at an institution like UW is there's so much research in the fields of like biology and chemistry and engineering and stuff like that.
okay, well, that sounds great. And then I think you'll definitely have a very promising career. So,
Thank you.
all right. So I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us and share all of this information with us. So I will let you get back to your studies.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.